going to give you a little history, just briefly, of my past. I used to run my own company, worked for quality. I helped improve customer satisfaction is what I did for customers. So my customer would hire me to help them improve their customer satisfaction. To do this, you had to collect data, information. And I built databases. And these databases I would install onto my customer's computer and teach the operators how to use it. And I would get calls all the time. This database isn't working anymore. Well, that's just hard to believe, that a database that is working in several different companies that I built, I built and modified them for each specific company. And so, a company would have it for 2 or 3 years and I get a call, it's not working anymore. This thing's all messed up. Okay, what's going on? Well, I tried to enter the date and the date won't go in. Okay. That really doesn't seem like a database problem. I wonder what's going on here. I said, did you restart your computer? Oh, yeah, I've restarted it. I've kicked it. I've thrown it out the window. I'm tired of this thing. Have you tried it on a different computer? Well, no, I didn't do that. Go try it on a different computer. So he goes to a different computer, types it in, and, oh, what's that all about? Well, did you use the number pad? Well, yeah, I used the number pad. That's where your numbers are. Do you have the number lock engaged? Oh, I didn't think of that. So, they're irate with me that their system isn't working because they don't know how to operate a computer. So, over the years, I've gotten a real distaste for customer service. I don't like it. That's why I like YouTube so much. Well, I don't like YouTube. I hate the YouTube, but that's beside the point. It's why I like YouTube better than having a customer service job, because I don't have to try to explain to a customer that they don't know what they're talking about and be applied at the same time, all the while they're cussing at you. Yeah, maybe I get offended too easy. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Well, I knew this would happen, doing a lawnmower repair hobby shop. I did this, I repaired this pole saw back in July. This is November. And I cleaned it up. It needed a new carburetor. So I put a new carburetor in, new fuel lines, new fuel filter. I take a video of everything I do. So, when I get it finished, I run it. Take a video of me running it and send it to the customer in text message or Facebook or whatever. And then I tell them, okay, it's running now. Come get it. And then when they come and get it, I start it up again just so they can see it run. And I always tell them, if you're not going to use it for a while, make sure you empty the gas out of it, run it for a second so it'll die from lack of fuel. Well, this guy comes over yesterday. I had a customer over yesterday wanting to buy this for $500 and it won't start. And when it does start, you can only run it on choke. I want it fixed immediately. I think I'm going to have to go out the cost and take this to him now. And he's indicating that he thinks I should be charged for this. I said, okay, I'll take a look at it. I brought it over here. I set it on the ground, and I'll show you exactly what I did. Fix this. It was pretty incredible. One of the most amazing things I ever did, I turned this on. That's the on-off switch. I primed it about 6 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I held the throttle. And then I yelled at Carolyn to grab the camera so she could record me cutting that limb off. I cut a couple other limbs off too, off this other tree. And I sent it to him. That's it. That's all I did. So I struggle with getting cussed out for something that I didn't do wrong. I just don't get it. Now, maybe the diaphragm dried out on that. Maybe. I mean, it's hard to believe it dried out. It usually takes a good year for it to dry out. Had a chainsaw. I just used it in one of my videos, I think yesterday. I'll put an up next box to that video at the end of this video. So I took the chainsaw out, put gas in it. I put a new carburetor in the spring. So let's say May, June time frame. So yesterday, day before yesterday, whatever it was, I pulled it out, put gas in it, started it up. Ran fine. So I don't think the diaphragm was dried out. What happens is the diaphragm could dry out, and what you got to do is try to run it, just like he did. I can only get it to run and choke. You run it and choke for as long as it'll run, and then you let it sit overnight, and then that gas will rehydrate that diaphragm. But I don't think that's what it was. So he said he'll come get it this morning. That was yesterday. Said it right in the thing. You gonna be home this morning? Yes. So I assumed that meant today. Well, so then I asked Carolyn, what do you think he meant? And she said, well, he probably meant tomorrow morning. So, you know, that's, I don't know. I'm just burned out with customer service. I really am. I was so focused on it because I had to help customers improve customer satisfaction. And the biggest problem with customer satisfaction is the customer. And I'm burned out on it. I don't think people should ever have to get chewed out for trying to do a good job, cussed out. Which kind of brings me to this and to this. So a guy comes over the other day, says, I want to buy this. How much is it? So I told him the price. He says, I'll be back later to buy it. And I told him, like I said, I told him the price. Well, he comes over later, and it's really later, like dark later. So he wants me to start it. So I started it during the day because I need to put gas in it, and I wanted to make sure the battery was still good and everything was still good. So I started it, ran fine. Well, when he got over here, it wouldn't throttle up. And what happened was, unfortunately, was the carburetor linkage fell off right here. So just needs a little plastic piece is what it needs. So I told him, well, I'll get the plastic piece, and if you want to buy it later, you know, you can come get it. So later, a couple days later, a day later, he stops by again, and he gives me this. You can have it. Doesn't run. Bad motor, but it's got a good starter on it, I would think. Well, it's actually a good motor. It just needs a new camshaft. So I've already ordered that. And I said, so I've ordered the parts for this lawnmower. Oh, I missed a step. He offers me $320. He doesn't offer. He doesn't say, hey, will you take $320? He just hands me $320. Says, that's all I got. Well, I mean, that was okay. I mean, I could have said no, but that's beside the point. So, you know, just everything seemed a little fishy with him. And he tells me that he used to live in a state, and now he lives here in a different state. And I said, hey, I used to live in that state too. And now he lives here. And he says, I got a couple lawnmowers I want to give you, and that motor. So he's picking this up. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's great. So like I said, he comes over the next day and gives me the motor. He says, you still want those lawnmowers, don't you? I said, sure, yeah. Well, then the next day he calls me up and says, you want to come down and pick up these mowers? I'll help you load them. I said, sure, what's your address? He says, well, it's not at my house. It's at my dead friend's house. My dead friend owns them, or owned them, and I've been trying to keep the meth labs out of the property. He says, so I finally got it all cleaned up. I think it's safe, so I'm gonna have you go over there. And he says, you know, the family just wants to get rid of this stuff. And I said, who owns them? Well, the guy who died, and I'm just cleaning up the property. I said, I said, do you still want this mower? He said, no. And this is all part of the conversation. I'm kind of getting mixed up in my conversation, but it doesn't matter. He says, no, I don't want it anymore. I'm moving back to Washington. So you're telling me you wanted to buy a mower, you gave me the money for the mower, and 2 days later you're moving back to Washington, you don't want the mower, but you want to give me 2 mowers of somebody else's. And I said, I don't know the legal status of these mowers. Now, it's one thing, I would imagine, I even looked up the law. It's one thing if somebody brings you something like that motor there, and he says, I want to give this to you. Okay, now I have evidence that he came over to give it to me. So if that is stolen property, I'm not saying it is, but if that is stolen property and the police want to investigate, I can say, oh yeah, that man came over here, dropped it off, said, or he gave it to me, or whatever the case is. I have sort of a legitimate business here. I don't have a building, but I have a business here where I work on mowers. I have a business card. I have his phone number. I can call him up, say, hey, the police are here. They're wanting to know about this motor that you gave me. So the law is that you should know, you're in violation of stolen property if you should know that it's stolen property. Well, I have no idea if that's stolen. There's no way for me to know. I have no reason to believe it is stolen because people give me stuff like this all the time. You know, they got garbage they want to get rid of. I'll take it. But when I'm going over to someone else's property, not his property, someone else's property, I find that very suspicious. So the whole thing was a little suspicious to me and confusing. Why would you want to buy a mower and then 2 days later say you're moving to Washington and you don't need the mower anymore? You don't need the mower until springtime, so why are you buying it now? You're giving me this motor, which isn't suspicious, but it is, in my mind, a little odd that people just give this stuff away. That's a brand new motor. It was made in 2019, and I would imagine it's probably only got a couple hundred hours on it because it looks like it has just sat. So the camshaft probably broke right away. They replaced the motor and took this one off, and it just sat there. You can even see that the shaft itself has been sitting, you know, when they set it down, it kind of jabbed a hole in the ground because there's rust around just the shaft, just that, you know, where it jabbed into the ground. So, you know, it's not suspicious, but as soon as you start getting into other people's property and you're talking about meth labs, the flag should go up. I'm really disappointed I didn't get those mowers. I would like to have had them, but now I'm really glad that I listened a little closer. When he was up here telling me, yeah, I'll bring those mowers up, I wasn't really listening because I was more concerned that linkage had fallen off. So, I don't know, I'm just kind of ranting today, but this is what concerns me about people. I've always said I'm not a huge people person. And this is why. You just don't know what you can trust and what you can't trust. You know, I just feel like maybe I should have been born in the 1800s when you could leave your door open and people left you alone and nobody was lying to you nonstop and people had the fear of God. I don't think that exists anymore. I've said in the past that almost every conversation I get into with somebody, I can sense a lie in their conversation. It's almost habitual anymore, where people just lie just to be lying. Not that they needed to, they just do. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was running that chainsaw. So I hope I can inspire you. Put up your red flags so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.